Hi everyone, welcome. In this video, we're gonna walk through what we call AWS S3. Okay, S3 stands for Simple Storage Service. It's one of the oldest service, and I can guarantee you 10 out of 10, wherever you find yourself working, you will be interacting with S3. To that end, you need to understand this. Okay, so remember, it is simple storage. It is a storage, but again, is a different kind of a storage. It is an object store. I've done a video about the differences between object store, block store, and what we call file storage. S3 in particular is object store. What do we mean by this? Okay, object store, these are the files or your data that, for example, you upload once and then you want to read as many times as you can. Okay, what do I mean by that? Files like, let's say, your archive data, your video recording, your voice recording. Okay, you only upload it once and then you can read them as many times as you can. Compared to block store is whereby you have your data, okay, stored in the form of a block. By that, it will allow you to read many and write many. So you are constantly reading and writing to the disk. But for S3, these files or data, you just upload them once or you inject them once, but then you can read many. Okay, so it allow you that. So again, S3 will have what we call your metadata alongside with your data, with your file. Okay, that's allow you to do that. Again, S3, this will allow you to, have what we call, you don't need to worry about your scaling. Okay, you can retrieve, you can store your data as many times as you can anywhere. Okay, scaling shouldn't be your problem. Automatically it just scale at the back end. Okay, with regards to what we called um availability, again is spread across various availability zones. So let's quickly dive into the console, and then we're gonna run it through the various things you need to know. Okay, so going back to my AWS console here, what we need to find is S3. Okay, so you can search here on S3. Okay, so once you get it, you can open in a new tab if you want. Okay, let me try opening a new tab here. Okay, you have your S3, but there are certain things you need to, certain concepts you need to understand. So the container you're going to put your data is called the bucket. The S3 itself is a service. Okay, you have what we called your bucket. Within your bucket, you put your data, your files, your video recording, anything you want to put in the container. We're going to call this an object. Okay, so the object is put in the container, right? If you want to mimic something like a folder structure, we call it prefix. Okay, or you can call it folder, but S3 doesn't deal with folder. It is what we call a prefix. Okay, and again, you need to understand the storage class. The storage class is to do with, how available you want this. Okay, and then how durable you want it. I'll show you what it is. Okay, if you want more durable, you pick your storage class. If you want, you know s- make it more redundant across availability zone 2, you can pick. So we have your S3, and what you need to do, all you need to do is say create bucket. Yeah, so creating your bucket. S3 is a global service. Okay, by that it cut across all the regions. But then when you are creating your bucket, you need to specify which region. Okay, the region is denoted by this. So here, if you want to change your region, the drop down, you pick your region. Okay, so here I'm in the UK, so I've picked Europe. Okay, Ireland region. That's fine. On the bucket type, okay, general purpose, this is most frequently used ones. Okay, and we have directory. So with this one, if you want to achieve low latency, by that you also have what we call the one zone storage class, but mostly used is the general purpose. The name of the bucket has to be globally available. What do I mean by this? Okay, the name that you provide, it doesn't has to be a name that exists anywhere in the world. Okay, not just your account, across the world. Okay, the name shouldn't be exist. Okay, so let's give it a name. Let's give it a name. Let's say simply done. simply done. Okay, and then let's add something. Okay, 582, that will do. Right, so that's the name. Okay, remember it has to be global. You have between 3 and 63 characters to use. The next one is the settings. Okay, if you have an existing bucket, you can copy the configuration and use it with this. Let me quickly show you here. If I want to use the existing bucket configuration, I can pick it up here. I'm not doing that, so let's move to the next one. So the object owner, that means who owns this object. So remember the content that you're going to put in the bucket and the bucket itself, who owns this. Okay, this is recommended. Let's disable this. Why? Because this account, you see this account, my account, yeah, and then with 4824, okay, is going to own the bucket, it's going to own the object. If I change it to enabled ACL, it means any other account can also own it. We don't want that. Okay, so we want to, bear in mind security, so therefore we pick this. The next one is block public access. Again, I've seen so many people, they believe when you uncheck this, it's like, you've blocked it. Okay, this means it's like the bucket or the content of the bucket is also blocked. Okay, so check it to say that you block it. If you want to make it public, you uncheck it. Okay, and then you acknowledge that. But for now, let's block it. Okay, for version, if you want to have a duplicate, a variant, a copy of your content or your object, you enable it. Okay, for this will help you in case accidental deletion, you can easily retrieve them. Okay, right. So for now, just for learning purpose, let's disable it. And then you have your tag. You can label your bucket, okay, to say who owns this bucket. For example, the team that owns it is the dev team. Okay, you can add as many tags as you can, and then default encryption. So by default, this will be encrypted, okay, at rest. For example, if you lose your data, so whoever get access to it will not be able to read it because the data is encrypted. Okay, let's pick this as default SSE S3. Okay, and then again, the bucket key, we can also enable it. This is the actual object. So remember, the key is the name of the bucket, of the object you're gonna put in the bucket. Okay, and then you can have additional settings here whereby you can lock it. For this will allow for you write once, okay, and then you read many, okay, and it's going to prevent what we call the object from being overwritten or deleted. Okay, so if you enable that, it will allow you that. Again, for you to enable object log, you need to have what we call version enabled. Okay, to do that, you need to enable version. Right, so apart from that, we are good to go. So all we need to do is to create the bucket. So create bucket. Okay, give it a like few seconds and it will be done for you. That's it done. Let's look for it. This is our bucket. Where is it? Simply done. That one. Okay. Right. So here we need to understand the object. Remember, the object is the data you put in the bucket. Okay. We can add permissions. This permission, this is where we block it. Okay. Metadata, the information about the object. Okay. The property. Okay. Here you have the versioning, the tags, okay, the default like we've been through. Okay, so what we are going to do is to upload one object into our bucket. Okay, so going back to our bucket, our object here, and then what we need to do is to upload. Okay, remember I told you about what we call the prefix. So we got your bucket, you got your content of the bucket. If you want to mimic a folder structure, you create a prefix. Okay, let's quickly create a prefix here. Let's call it dev. Okay, that's one prefix, and then all you need to do is to that. Okay, you can create as many folder structure as you can, a folder within a folder. So within here too, we can also create another one. Okay, so let's say for the dev test. inside that you create. So as you can see, if I click on the test, you got your folder structure. You got your bucket, and you got your test, your dev, and then your test folders. Okay, so we can upload an object here within here. So let's go and upload. Let's upload. This is put object. Okay. Let me grab something. Let me see. Right. This is a picture of myself. Let's upload it. And then all I need to do, remember, I'm uploading a file, and this is the name of the file. So this is going to be the key. Okay. So the key of the object, by that we mean the name. And then it's going to upload it into the destination bucket. Okay. And what we need to do is upload. Okay. So bucket is uploaded. Let's have a look on here. Let's go into the, this is it. This is the object. But let me quickly go in here and then go to the property here. Okay. So this will give you the information where the bucket is placed. Okay. The URL of the bucket. Back in here, and the object itself, go inside of it. Okay. We have the information about the bucket. Okay, the owner, when it was created. This is what I told you about the key. So it's going to mimic like a folder structure, but technically it's going to be the name of the object you put. So the folder name that you think you've created is going to be part of the name of the key. Remember, this is what I uploaded, and this name has been added, dev and test. Okay, this is the story class. Where is it? Here we go. So by default, if you don't specify your story class, you will be given the standard class. We have various classes for your S3 based on your use case. If you want to have more durability, if you want to have more availability, if you want to have intelligent way of moving your bucket from one object to another, or an intelligent way of, you know, deleting or moving your object, you can use your bucket class to do this. Let's go into it. So here by default, like I said, you will be given the standard S3. This is more frequently. Okay, if you want to access your data as frequently as possible, this is what you need. It's slightly expensive, but you have your data being distributed across like 3 availability zones, and it's more what we call durable as well. Okay, so if you want to have intelligent tiering, this is a logic way of moving, or depending on the usage of your data, this object or your content of your bucket will be moved to a specific storage class based on the usage of your object. So intelligent tiering. Standard IA. So again, this is spread across 3 availability zones, and by that you infrequently access your object. Okay, let's say once a month. Okay. The rest goes on. If you want to put something in your archive, put, let's say, at the back somewhere you don't really going to access it, but you want it to be there for, let's say, compliance purpose. You can basically put them in what we call Glacier Deep Archive or Glacier Flexible. So it's there. You don't need it. When you need it, it's there. This is more cheaper. So there are various options, like I said, based on your use case. Okay, so that is the storage class if you want to leverage on that. Again, let's go back to our object, back to the bucket, and then inside of this folder, we got this, right? If you want to access this, okay, remember we blocked the public access. Let's say if I want to access this, let's copy the bucket URL, put it in here, and see what's going to happen. Okay, enter. Okay, access denied. By that, nobody can access this, but there's a way you can access this using the press sign URL. Let me show you quickly. So here, can you see, if you go open, you'll be able to see it, I think, within a certain period of time. So let's click on that, and then I'll show you. So upload, I think it's getting blocked here. Let me open it here. Okay, here we go. Handsome dude. Yeah, nice one. Okay, so that is it. That's a way of accessing it. But if you want to use this URL, it's not gonna work. You need to leverage on what we call policy, bucket policy to give access. Let's quickly also do that. Okay, so bucket policy. Let's quickly go in here, and to do that, you go to the bucket permissions. Okay, and then we need to unblock this. Yeah, unblocking it, making it public, making it viewable, unblock it. Okay, and then you save. I'll confirm that. Confirm, and then confirm. Okay, here we need to add policy. What is this policy? It's a JSON document. I've done a video about policy JSON document, how it's written and how to interpret it, those of you who are interested. But here, let's quickly add a policy statement. Who has access to what and what can they do? We want them to view, that is to get object. Yeah, nothing else, nothing to put, nothing to delete. So we just want them to view. So we say get object. So let's do policy statement. What are we interested? What services? So we are interested in S3. So you choose your service. So you pick your S3. Happy days. If you want to give all access, it's up to you based on your use case. On our use case, we want somebody to just get an object, just to see it. Yeah. So get. Let's find get object. So get object. We got it. Okay. Right. So can you see the policy is being written on the left hand side? So I just put get. That's part of the action. So I don't need to add anything else. What I need to do is to add resource. What resource? What object do I want them to have access? But before that, let me grab this ARN, Amazon resource name. That's the bucket name. Scroll down and then I'll add resource. So this is the bucket, the service S3. The type is object. So I want them to have access to the object. So I'll say object, and then I'll place the ARN here. Okay, paste it here. I'm going to add one more thing, is forward slash and a star. What does it mean? This means the content, the bucket have access to the bucket and the content as well. Yeah, that's the forward slash. I'm happy, and then I'll add. Yeah, I've added the resource. Yeah, the bucket and the content. Right. We haven't finished here. One more thing to do. Can you see here? Principal. The principal is the identity, the entity that needs to have access. Like we said, we want to make it public. Let everyone have access. Okay. So here we're gonna rub off this two and put a quotation mark around this. Let's fix this error and put a star. Remember, star is everything. That means everyone. Yeah. So everyone, that's the principal, is allowed to take this action. What action is to get object? What's the meaning of get object? Just to see the object. Okay, on what? On this S3 bucket and its content. Happy days. All right, so I'm happy with that, and then I will save. Okay, now policy is written. Okay, if I want to zero this principal down, I can even put specific person ARN here. A user who belongs to this account can have access. It's a different video. I'll be leveraging on that. Okay, as giving access to group and users, I'll do that. Okay, so I think we've done that. So for now, let's try it. Okay, this wasn't working. Now we're going to refresh it. Okay, happy days. You know, we're cooking on a gas. We've been able to leverage on this policy, and this is how we grant access. Right. So remember, S3 is just a simple storage, okay, and it's an object store. I've explained the object store, and it's going to allow you to put as many objects, okay, the content into a bucket, which is a container, as many times as you want. You can access this anywhere in the world, okay. You don't need to worry about scalability and then durability. It will be taken care of, okay, right. So you can use this to store all your archive file, your video recordings, logs. Even you can use it to host what we call static website. I'll do another video on that. Again, remember the difference is an object store. The things that you are going to read more frequently than to write. Okay, the things that you're going to read. If you want to write more and read more, you go for block store. that is EBS, and then the file system that is attached to EC2 or something like that. Please watch the video if that is a bit confusing. I have a video that you can, leverage on. Right. Happy learning. And then what I will say is I will see you in our next video. Bye bye.